Hi there, this is lesson number 1 about how to use the Well-Tempered book independently. I want to make sure you know this is going to work for some of you, but not all of you. And if it doesn't work for you, don't be discouraged. I really think it's not going to work for most of you, but I do owe it to some of you, the ones who have the prerequisite knowledge, to give you some pointers about how you can use the book independently. And if this series doesn't work for you, just be encouraged that I'm also creating another format that will have the same result, but it's designed specifically for guitar. This book is designed for musicians in general, and there's some really cool things we can do to make it more accessible, actually, for absolute beginners, which is the really cool thing on guitar. We can do these exercises as absolute beginners. A lot of other instruments, that's not true. So more about that in the other series. Okay, let's see. The prerequisite knowledge that is going to help you use this book independently is that you're comfortable with scale degrees, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. First scale degree, second scale degree, third scale degree, and so on. The theory lessons will help with that, and I'll put a link in the description underneath this video to the theory lessons. Also a link to the last lesson, which was sort of an introduction. The playlist for this series. Understanding is totally optional. Understanding all the theory. There's a certain bit of understanding the scale degrees, which is required in order to understand how to use the book independently. But everything else, don't worry about. It will come. The circle of fourths, totally optional if you understand that or not. So the format I'm going to use for now is I'm going to show you. Oh, here we go. In the introduction, we talked about this page. And I am still going to follow so this is lesson 1. It correlates with exercise number 1 right here. Okay. And first I'm going to just show you the exercise. And then I'm going to teach you how this gets you to that. I'm going to show the exercise 2 ways. A lot of you like to see the exercise with one finger because that makes it easier to see exactly where I'm playing without all the fingers in the way. And then I will show the exercise with proper fingering, the fingers you probably will want to use. And so let me show you the exercise both ways. First, try to do this, if you're going to attempt to do the exercise, try it just by watching. And then if you need the tablature to clarify anything, then look at the tablature. So I'm going to begin this exercise. I'm not going to begin on C. In the book, it begins on C. I'm going to begin on a G note. You don't have to remember that it's G. And I'm going, I need to shut up and play. Okay, here's how it goes. And what we want to do is find the pattern. When we get to the 6th string, we're going to go back to the 6th string in the same fret and start over again using the same pattern. Now I'm going to show it. You're only allowed to do it with one finger. If you only have one finger, that works, okay? That is an option. You could do a lot with one finger. Assuming you have these 3, you can do a lot even without pinky. The best fingering, I'm going to just use finger 1 for the first note and finger 3 for the second note. And here is the exercise again. Oh, and you keep going, okay? You don't stop. I just wanted to play enough so you could see the pattern. I'll explain that finger later, that fingering. And then we continue through the pattern. I'm going to go through it again, and then I'm going to explain that fingering when I begin on the 2nd string. Okay, about the fingering. The thing is, when you're playing a melody and you want to go smoothly from this note to this note, if this finger were playing this note in any song, and if this note were next, you usually wouldn't go... You wouldn't go, if this were the song, let's see. You usually wouldn't play that way in a song. You would go, that would be much more smooth if your finger's playing on the 3rd string and you want the next fret higher on the 2nd string. You would want to use that finger. There are a lot of options. You could use this. There's a lot of options, and that would be a fun thing to play with if you're more experienced. You could do, or something, you know, there's a lot of, but the main thing is we want to design a fingering where we get smoothly to this finger. And one way to, and if this is the last note we played, we get smoothly to this finger, and then we get maybe that finger in our new, or okay, yeah, it just occurred to me that if it were a song, you know, would we be, maybe not. But there's some options there with the fingering anyway. Okay, so we showed the exercise. I want to encourage you generally that if you have any trouble with this, the other series that I'm making for guitar mastery exercises is going to be more accessible to absolute beginners, okay? And I believe that most people following my lessons, well, actually, I'll tell you this. A lot of people have bought the book because I think it's so great. And there's only one person that I know of who was able to just take the book and use it independently and be off to the races and have spectacular results right away. And then there's other people who have had some good results using my lessons. So I just want to say it's just written for a high level. And don't feel bad if this series isn't working for you, but I'm going to help you start at the beginning and get there. Okay, let's see. I encourage exploration. Okay, so what I'm going to do is make a tablature. I haven't made it yet. I'm going to watch the lesson and make the tab of exactly what I played. The tab's not going to include fingering. You could be creative with the fingerings. We'll keep learning fingerings gradually. Okay, what's important? The exploration I mentioned a moment ago. By exploration, let's see. Let's come back to exploration at the very end, because exploration is more higher level, and I want to just save that for the end. That way, if you're already overwhelmed, you can just stop and you can come back and watch that part later. I want to talk really quick about what's important. What's important is not, okay, we're working towards understanding how to use the book, but what's important is not, at this point, not understanding the theory. What's important is playing this interval. What we're playing is, I said I was going to tell you about the book. Let's see. This is called interval, okay? And we talked at the beginning about scale degrees. First scale degree, second scale degree, first scale degree. That's what that is. And I sang a different note, but when we started our exercise, we're calling that the first scale degree, second scale degree, first scale degree. And there's the reason we know we're going up to the second scale degree is because it says, somewhere it says, intervals up. Intervals up, okay? And the only time you really need to look at the music is you have your first note, the next note goes up, and the next note goes back down. So it's 1, 2, 1. I don't expect it to click and make sense right away. With music theory, it takes repetition, repeated exposure, and then it's amazing when it clicks. It's like, oh. So if the first couple of lessons don't work, I encourage you to hang in there, because after some repetition, it might start to, okay. And I will keep what I just talked about, looking at those numbers and knowing what to do. After we work through several exercises together, it'll make more sense. I don't expect it to just suddenly be clear in this lesson, but gradually it should become clear. Let's see. I was talking about what's important, which is actually doing the exercise. That's important. Playing the interval and hearing that sound. It's not important to identify that at, like, you hear it and say, that's a second or a whole step. At this point, that's not important. It's just physically making the sound and hearing it. That's what develops your brain musically. So the main thing is making those sounds. And don't worry about doing it wrong. Can't remember if I said that in the last lesson. Yeah, I think I did. But don't worry about doing it wrong. Every sound you make and every move you make is part of your musical development. And eventually, most of the time, you're going to be playing the notes that we're going for. I don't want to say right and wrong. They're not right and wrong. They're just notes. Every sound you make is going to help your musical development. Okay, one last thing about exploration. If you're already overwhelmed, you may not want to watch the rest of this, okay? But if you want an idea of how to take this to a higher level, I'm going to talk about what I mean by exploration. You know what? I'm going to do that in part A. This is going to be, part B. So I'm going to say goodbye for part A, and then I'll make a part B about exploration.